Up here, I got one more experience for you all. Be me with my brother in backyard. It's the afternoon and the sky is clear with no clouds to be seen. Hit wax pen. Feels good, man. Start chilling on the chairs and looking up towards the sky. While we are looking up towards the sky, we spot something very far away but moving in very irregular patterns. Moving in like triangle shapes. It seems to be so high up. Like an airplane would be. Looks like a white shining dot in the sky dancing around and moving all sorts of random directions. We both ask if we can see what we're seeing. Confirm we both see it. We watch this little bright dot speed across the sky back and forth, around and around, left to right all over again. We keep staring at it for what feels like a minute. After that we lost sight of it. Start talking about what we just saw. We wonder if we really saw what we saw or were we just high. We look back up and a random clump of like dandelion stuff is falling off our big tree in our backyard. Bro, we were just seeing the pollen falling, it wasn't a UFO LMAO. Sci-hofer-leaf.exe. We then feel this urge to look straight up above us. As I look up I see something I've never heard of before in any UFO sighting encounters and stories I've ever come across. That white light we saw earlier that we thought was just pollen was now floating directly above our yard. It seemed as far away and small as it was before. Like as high as an airplane would fly where it's just a little speck in the sky, but this time it was motionless directly on top of us. WTF is that, bro? The white dot began descending down directly over us and the backyard. It comes down very fast. As it comes down it stops at around maybe a few stories high right on top of us. What I saw next was something otherworldly. This white light was not a simple white light. As it got closer down to us I noticed the light was emanating from something I can only describe as a psychedelic sacred geometry. Sacred geometry dream catcher continuously inverting in on itself in a funnel-like shape with the white bright light at the center. The shape of light looked like something from the fifth dimension trying to be condensed down into the third dimension. As I looked at it harder it started to come down closer at lightning speed. It was now only like 3 houses high above me and then I could see this thing more clearly. Around the sphere of dreamcatcher light was only what I could describe as a cloaking device. Think of what Predator or Professor X's X-plane looks like when it activates its cloaking. I can see the translucent blurred shape around this ball of extra-dimensional light. The shape is that of like a squid or octopus. Maybe even like the Sentinels from the Matrix. I could see the clear cloaked tentacles spinning the same way the light was in spiral imploding on itself. We stared and it watches us for a minute. It came down to us because I think it noticed us watching it while it was so far up. As we stare entranced at it I realize we need to just leave and go back inside. As we snap out of it and come to our senses we begin walking back inside. The moment we move this extra-dimensional dreamcatcher light squid begins to swim away over our house. I could see the dreamcatcher light orb just levitating over the house. But around it was the invisible cloaked outline of a squid. The tentacles were moving in and out like a squid or octopus does when swimming. It disappears out of sight and go to my room. I asked him what he saw before I said anything to make sure we saw the same thing. He described it as I have described it to you. Weirdest experience of my damn life. I had never believed in UFO encounters before this, but now I listen more carefully. Feel free to ask me any questions about both experiences I posted in this thread if you innings have any. Thanks for reading. In my cunt, at New Year's Eve, as the year changes at midnight, we cut a sweet pie, cake called the King's Pie. It's Basil's pie. Basileus means king. It stems from one of the historical figures that inspired Santa Claus, Saint Basileus. Be me yesterday. Celebrating alone. Didn't care much, woke up cheery and had fun hearing the carolers and giving them money. Dressed up and everything, planned to send off the year with some good Italian food and a nice film. Order the pie from a patisserie. By early night, food shops all shut down, even the Chinese ones, due to overwhelming orders. Had to make some last-minute tortellini, nuggets and salad. Night ruined. Get tipsy on wine, I rarely drink these days. Have to cut my pie and assign each piece to a different person. It's pretty big, so have to think of stuff. Assign one to my parents and the such, Santa, myself, etc. Decided it'd be fun to assign one to God and to Lucifer, since nobody thinks of the latter, and I got sad, thinking of him being alone. In our pies we hide a small coin, and whoever finds it is lucky. Turns out it was in Lucifer '/devil '/Satan's piece. Remember that, as every New Year's I pre-order something, and what I bought this year was one of the Star Wars Omnis I collect, with the Palpatine cover, Palpatine being literally modeled after Satan. Wake up to one of the brands I follow announcing special Dark Side Star Wars figures for 2024. Remember that according to the Chinese 2024 is the year of the dragon. In Christianity Lucifer is the dragon. /X/brothers, what have I done? This is too much synchronicity for me to ignore. The pieces were set in such a way that Lucifer's piece was opposite Dr. Doom's, which was next to mine, and opposite mine was the piece I assigned to Fate, which was next to Lucifer's. Following this reasoning, my fate is for me to become the devil by transforming into Dr. Doom, which has been my schizo delusion for ages. What happens now? Going to start a thread based around weird childhood memories or things from any period in your life that you are still struggling to categorize as reality or dream. Greentext and OC are encouraged, starting off with my OC. Be me. 8 years old and laying awake at Grandpa's house. Grandpa's house has always been off-putting as it's across the street from a graveyard and a stretch of woods. Constant hum of distant highway. Eerie. MP3. I woke up next to the dead body of Grandma in this same bed 2 years before. May or may not be related to the strange events I've experienced in this house. Look at the green glow of the analog alarm clock. 2 a.m. Notice something in bottom peripheral and freeze. Shitbrikes.zip. Look down to see a 2 feet tall beady black-eyed creature, covered in light gray fur and kind of square in build, long flat and rectangular snout and defined eyebrows. Very intelligent looking creature staring at me inquisitively, can't recall if it had antlers or ears. Suddenly fear is replaced with calm and the world grows brighter as I gaze into the creature's eyes. Suddenly I am standing on the driveway. No sun in the sky, no wind, no hum of the highway, yet the sky is lit up by this artificial gray. The thing is standing 5 feet in front of me. It speaks to me and tells me something I can only remember in vague moments of déjà vu. World whites out again and I am back to staring at the alarm clock. 4:24 a.m. Run out of bed and wake up Grandpa. Logically thinking would lead me to write this off as simply a dream, yet it always felt like it was something much more. The glimpses I get into what it told me usually have something to do with some event that occurred in an ancient or otherwise parallel reality of the surrounding forest. Be about 3 years ago. Start having dreamlike experiences with a beautiful woman. One day she becomes real in my life and I don't know how or when exactly the transition happened, but there was nothing logical about any of it in retrospect. I didn't know what she was at the time. I didn't do anything like opt to summon her. Not exact time frames, but she was dreamlike for 9 to 12 months, then more or less became real but kinda seamlessly. I was living alone and not leaving the house much at the time, family in another state, and socially isolated. I didn't even think much of it for about another year. I don't know why, but everything seemed great. It was like meeting a girl outside, dating for a while, and then we're moving in, except none of that ever actually happened. She was just permanently around at some point. Sometimes she'd seem to suddenly disappear for a while, like she'd go to the next room that had no external access. I wouldn't see or hear her leave the house, and I'd even look for her and she wouldn't be there. When this happened, I'd also notice there was also no trace of her ever having been here, which didn't bother me for some reason, except that she was gone, but stuck in the back of my mind like a seed of doubt. About a year ago she started getting possessive and jealous over nothing, and not over anything I actually did, but over things that I thought. Like about other women on TV/movies/internet or my past that she couldn't even really know about. It got worse and more frequent. At first it was playful but escalated to the point she's freaking out about every little thing now. It became threatening and malevolent, and she scares me. Walking on eggshells around her 24/7. She's away again at the moment. She doesn't seem to know what I'm thinking when that happens. I'm afraid even typing this though in case she somehow knows, suddenly shows up again, or finds out later and I don't know what to do. Please help me. Here's an experience I only shared once in a dead thread and got no replies. Be me hiking in local mountains. The trail is off of a road that is said to be haunted, lady in white sightings but not related to my experience. Drive down and turn into this tiny parking lot along the winding mountain road that the trail starts at. Walk down trail for 10 minutes. Arrive at fork in the trail. To my right it leads to an old wooden train bridge that is collapsing and out of commission. Go down the steep hill to look under the very tall train bridge. Looks cool.jpg. Climb back up the tall hill by holding onto trees along the way back up. Up the hill and back on the trail catching my breath. Start to hear a voice echoing through the trees in the mountains. Sounds far away, probably 100 feet or more. I stand and listen. Out of nowhere the voice begins to sound like it's coming closer at inhuman speeds. In around less than 10 seconds the voice sounded like it was 100 or more feet away to it sounding like it was at the other end of the trail where I hadn't gone yet. Voice sounds like a deep-voiced man screaming in rage at the top of his lungs. I pick up a big stick around me for protecting when the voice seemed to arrive at inhuman speeds. I need help deciphering the meaning of this dream. I'm in the military and one day will be on a submarine. Got the dream a few days after the whole Israel thing happened. Be me. Be on submarine to fight terrorists in Israel. We shoot missiles and kill the terrorists. Celebrate.wav. Sonar or some shit goes off. Enemy submarine approaching. Shit just got real. Prepare for battle stations. Shoot torpedo. Blows up a submarine that turns out to be a cruise ship, but a submarine. See a bunch of dead people in the water, mainly women and children. What does it mean /x/?